Will the Dallas Cowboys take care of business in Week 18 and wrap up the NFC East? All that and more in this episode of the Locked On Cowboys podcast.
You are Locked On Cowboys, your daily Dallas Cowboys podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Cowboys.
Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That is linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. Joining me today, as always, is Landon McCool. You can check him out on Twitter at McCoolBZB. Landon, we've got a busy show for you guys today. This is the moment we've been waiting for all season, right? Win one more game and you are the NFC East champions. We're going to save our predictions for the end of the show, but how sweet would it be to tell the other Locked On hosts of the NFC East that the Cowboys have won the division?
Well, I mean, I think we all, if anyone is on it, I've been saving that screen grab of the cryon which said who will win the NFC East, and I think it's Gino. I was giving me the yawn while I was trying to make my case. So
you just wait to see the sick edit that I have that I'm going to be dropping on Monday.
Oh, I can't wait for that. I'm so excited. I mean, it's retribution. It's just a feel good, story for Cowboys fans after having just been doubted so severely, especially, look, not for nothing. Dak Prescott probably won't win the MVP. I mean, I think that's
probably not.
He's definitely your strong second candidate, but he's probably not going to win. For him to be like in the conversation and, practically the front runner for a good portion of the season, that's really kind of the biggest sweetener for all of this. After all the crap he took last season for the interceptions, for, and all the off-season stuff that we had to hear, like for Dax himself to have such a season and the Cowboys to have such success, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. So if the Cowboys want to win this game on Sunday against the Commanders, they're going to need their offense to start out fast. And that's the key to me. When you're in these games and you're a 13-point favorite on the road, the key is to start hot, right? You don't want Washington to hang around and all of a sudden get some belief that they can win this game. It's all about getting off to a hot start. And then if you get up by a certain amount, maybe you can start resting guys as you get ready for the playoffs. But do you believe the Cowboys will get off to this hot start, or do you think we'll see some sloppy play in the first half here?
I tend to think that they will try to do that. I think they will try to start off hot because I think this is kind of part of the process of still trying to figure out how to win some of these road games a little bit better, right? I think the deferring to the second half and trying to get the double dip, that's something that the Cowboys should probably save for their home games, right? I just think that it's the struggles that the Cowboys have had playing hot early, especially against very good teams. I think that's been one of the biggest issues that the Cowboys have had on the road. So I don't know that that's going to be a problem for the Cowboys this week against Washington, but I do think that it's important to get some work in on trying that, on getting trying to start out hot early and get going early in order to kind of grab control of the game. So I do anticipate, just based on what we saw last week against Miami, and some of the fast start stuff there. And then also just on top of that, just being a little bit more aggressive in areas where that they had been a little bit more conservative, like if they get backed up inside their own 10 and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. We had seen them with Buffalo kind of go into their shell, and they really paid the price for it. And then when they were aggressive, when they were like they were against Miami, they were able to pick up first downs and kind of move the ball. So those two things, like you mentioned, the fast start, and then just kind of not going into their shell when they're in tough, kind of down and distances. Yep. I think those are two things that I'm going to be looking for this Sunday to see what they do.
Two things that I wanted to point out. The weather, it seems like we're supposed to get a big snowstorm starting tonight here on the East Coast. It does seem like it's going to potentially taper off by the time we get to Sunday afternoon. It's going to be colder. Like, I think you're going to be in like in the 40s. So it's going to be like that Buffalo game that the Cowboys played a few weeks ago, except for it doesn't seem like it's going to be that rainy and maybe all that windy. So notable, but I don't think it's game changing or game altering. What is game altering, Landon, are the injuries on the Commander side of the ball. I'm going to try to run through them the best I can. So
I'm going to try not to spit take when I hear this list as I'm drinking.
So their best defender all year has been Kendall Fuller. He plays in the slot. He's played over 1,000 snaps. He's already been ruled out for this game. So no Kendall Fuller. That's a big one. Their other cornerbacks, including Christian Holmes and Tariq Castro-Fields, they haven't played a ton, but they were like their depth guys. Both of them have been ruled out for this game as well. Their safety situation, Derek Forrest and Percy Butler, both guys that have played a ton this year. They were put on the injured reserve list over the last couple of weeks. Cameron Curl, their starting safety, he has a quad injury. It seems like he's pretty unlikely to play. So that's their top three safeties right there. Yeah, their linebacker, Jamin Davis, is on the injured reserve list. Right. Edge rushers, we know about the edge rushers. They traded away Montez Sweat. They traded away Chase Young. Effie Obata is on the injured reserve list. Their number one defensive end, Casey Toohill, has a shoulder injury. He seems like it's doubtful that he's going to play in this game. Defensive tackles, Jonathan Allen, already been ruled out of this game. Curtis Brooks, another guy they had already on the injured reserve list. They're just decimated on defense. They could be without 6 to 7 starters.
All right, this is a fun game for all the everydayers. All those names that Marcus just mentioned, about 7 of them he made up. So you have to figure out which ones he made up, and then you write into the show and let. No, I'm just kidding. It's a desperate situation. Look, It's a Week 18 game, right? It's the end of the season. It's half of these games are going to be filled with players that haven't played very much in the season, backup quarterbacks, and for a variety of reasons, right? Like because teams are in the playoffs, they want to rest their starters, or because they don't want to get guys injured, right?
So I was talking to David Harrison from Locked On Commanders just today. They are such in a bad spot at cornerback right now that they're actually having their second round safety, Jatavius Martin, who's never played slot corner before. He's going to be playing in the slot this week. Like that's just how bad they are, or bad of shape they are in terms of injuries right now.
A rookie safeties, never played slot corner before, is going to be going against CeeDee Lamb. So just kind of keep that in mind for any gambling things that you may want to invest in. But one
more thing really quickly.
Yeah.
PFF grades are not the end all be all, but assuming that Cameron Curl, their safety, is not playing this week, their highest graded projected starter is a 62.8, Benjamin St-Juste.
And I think we're fully aware of Benjamin St-Juste too. Yes. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, it's Week 18 makes for strange bedfellows, it makes for strange games, it makes for strange alliances and strange motivations. Yeah. And the Cowboys are kind of in a weird situation where they need this win to kind of secure. Well, they definitely need this win to secure the number 2 seed, and Washington kind of needs a loss to secure that second overall pick. And so, I don't, just because of what's going on with the Washington coaching staff and everything there, I don't anticipate them just rolling over. So don't think that.
No, they're not. They're going to have a bunch of young guys that are playing for jobs and future stuff. So no, they're not going to roll over. No.
It's just that the talent, they're going to be giving full effort. It's just that the talent out there is just not going to be. It's going to be a huge mismatch. So the Cowboys cannot go in there and play with mismatched energy. No. That's going to be a problem. Like if you do that, you could get into a situation where you could lose. You could get to a situation where you get hurt. That's even worse. I mean, frankly, the Cowboys could survive losing this, and they could still have the Vikings beat the Lions and still be the 3rd seed. As there's still positive paths even if the Cowboys lose, right? But if there's a variety of injuries because guys weren't taking this game seriously, that's a bigger issue. That's a bigger issue, especially on this field. So, the Cowboys need to make sure they're matching the energy of these guys. Again, there's a huge talent disparity here. So just play up to their energy. Play your game, and you should win this game pretty handily. And Dak should be on the sideline in the 4th quarter wearing an NFC East champions hat. Throughout the 4th quarter. So
as much as the Cowboys offense should dominate this game, I really think it's going to be up to the defense to kind of set the tone early in this one. Let's talk about that unit next. This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. At the start of the new year, every small business owner is asking themselves the same question. What's the one move that I can make that'll take my business to the next level in 2024? LinkedIn Jobs knows that your success all depends on the team that you surround yourself with. That's why LinkedIn Jobs has created the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. Hiring is easy when you have this many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn knows that a lot of businesses right now are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or the resources to hire, but thankfully with LinkedIn, that process is so quick and easy. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That is linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast. We wanted to let you know that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Lynn, I want to talk about the Cowboys defense because to me, they're the key in this game. If they come out in this game and set the tempo and they have multiple 3-and-outs and they just don't let Washington have any positive momentum, I think they can win. But if they let Washington run the ball, complete some big passes down the field, draw penalties, that's where this thing can get a little hairy.
Well, look, I mean, I think there's been a lot of talk about how Washington is, one of the worst teams in football and they're up for the second round pick. And those things may be true, but I do think that one area where Washington has been pretty adept throughout the season is on offense. They've been able to at least move the ball on everyone. I mean, I think that, Sam Howell, if I'm not mistaken, is still probably in the top 5 or passing yards. I mean, he's got to be, right? Even though he's missed a couple of games because he got benched, which is how rare is it that you say that a guy that's in the top 5 in passing yards? I mean, not the passing yards is by any stretch the end all be all of stats, but still, like, it's a volume stat. It means that you've certainly played enough and you've produced at some level. And the fact that he's got benched shows you just kind of the other side of that coin. He's the guy that throws for a lot of yards, but he gets sacked a lot. He fumbles the ball. He turns the ball over a lot. They don't score a ton of points, despite the fact that they move the ball well. But listen, I mean, look at the roster on that side. It's easy to kind of look at the talent. We just talked about on the other side of the ball, like the talent disparity between that side of the ball. That's not the case necessarily on the other side, right? On offense, they have some talent. They get Scary Terry and a pair of running backs that can really Robinson and Gibson who can really do some damage. Their offensive line's a little beat up, and we talked about that, and that's something that you can certainly take advantage. But as far as skill set goes, they've got guys who can beat you in the air and on the ground. So obviously the big problem here is going to be quarterback and the way that he plays and what he does. And I think he is a guy that is likely to take a whole bunch of sacks against the Cowboys, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they, won't move the ball. So
because he's going to stand in the pocket. He'll throw the ball down the field, even when there's guys all around him. And we saw that in the first meeting. Like, the Cowboys were getting pressure, but he would just stand in there and deliver some strikes down the field. That's what makes you the most nervous.
And all you need is a couple of, deep throws to Terry or a short pass to Samuel and let him slip loose and break through the secondary to get a touchdown. And suddenly this game is a lot closer than it should be. Now, I think that if the Cowboys are able to, score early and then get off the field quickly with their defense, we talked about being able to control this game and kind of dictate the terms. And that's, once it gets in that kind of situation, Washington is just really, really ill-equipped to play to try to fight against the tide of the Cowboys, inevitability. So they're going to do what they can to try to keep this a close game as long as they can. But if the Cowboys can find a way to at least get, a multiple score game going, it's going to get a lot more difficult for this offense to be able to produce because, look, they want to throw the ball anyways. I mean, they're not, even knowing that running the ball may be a better play for them, they're going to want to throw the ball just because that's in their DNA. And I think that starts with their play caller. So I think that the Cowboys have got to find a way to turn hurries into sacks, turn sacks into fumbles, turn fumbles, turn hurries into interceptions. Get the ball back for your offense so that you can double dip in that way, score points and add up to your score in that way. And then you're going to start having Washington play a brand of football that there's, that at the very least is going to get their quarterback very hurt, and that's going to be tough to play through.
I would just like to see a stretch in this game where the Cowboys go like 3 straight possessions where Washington doesn't score the ball or doesn't move the ball really. And if you could have one of those stretches, like especially in the first half, you probably win this game. If you can create some turnovers, that'll really swing this game. But what makes me the most nervous is I really like Brian Robinson.
I do too.
Even with the injuries they've had on the offensive line, they've actually been really successful when they've been able to run the ball. The problem is, Landon, they just get behind in these games and then they can't stick with the run. So this is where we talk about complementary football. If the Cowboys can play well on offense early in the game, get them out of that kind of neutral offensive, philosophy, then the Cowboys should be able to get after the Commanders. I just want to update the offensive line really quickly. Their starting left tackle, Charles Leno, who played really well against the Cowboys in the first game. He's on the injured reserve list. He's not playing. Cornelius Lucas is their starting left tackle this week. Andrew Wiley, their big ticket right tackle free agent. He got hurt 2 weeks ago, didn't play last week. He didn't practice much this week at all. He's dealing with an elbow injury. We'll see if he can play. And then they're without their starting center, Tyler Lawson. So there's a good chance that they could be without 3 of their starting 5 offensive linemen. This is where your dominant defensive line needs to show up. Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, Oso Digizua, dominate this game, get out of there with a win, and they'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, like we said, the skill players are where they have talent, right? On offense, Robinson is a guy that you don't want to start get going because that's going to make for even if the Commanders don't win, you just don't want to have your defense deal with a game where they have to grind it out on Brian Robinson, because it's just going to be a physical game. You're going to get beat up. You want to win this game quickly and early, and then get out clean. So Brian Robinson is going to be the guy that's going to prevent that. So don't let him get the ball and prevent him from getting the ball by getting out ahead and forcing him to throw the football. So, but yeah, I think you nailed it. The offensive line is where this Cowboys defense needs to attack this offense. That's where they're going to be, and that's why they'll probably will try to run the ball a little bit, right? It's because that's where they're going to feel the most comfortable with backup offensive line is trying to push on folks as opposed to being reactive. So force their hand, make them throw the football.
Make them throw the football, and then you can get your NASCAR package out on the field with all your small guys, right? Micah Parsons, Dante Fowler, Sam Williams, Mozzie Smith. Like, that's how you get after the quarterback.
Yeah, exactly.
I slipped Mozzie Smith in there. It's fine.
Hey, he is guy. I totally believed it because Mozzie Smith is an incredible pass rusher.
At 290 pounds. All right, let's make our predictions for Week 18, and if the Cowboys will win the NFC East. We will do that next. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Around New Year's, we get obsessed with how to change ourselves instead of just expanding on what we're already doing right. Maybe you finally organized one part of your house or your apartment, and now you want to tackle another. Or maybe you started taking your supplements every morning, and now you actually want to eat a healthy breakfast too. Therapy helps you find your strengths so you can ditch the extreme resolutions and make changes that will actually stick. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's done entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for any reason at no additional charge. Celebrate the progress that you've already made. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast. Every dayers on Monday, Landon and I are going to break down this Cowboys Commanders game. We'll either be celebrating as the NFC East champions, or we'll be getting ready to talk about a road playoff game against the Buccaneers. So make sure you tune in for that. But Landon, let's make our prediction for the final regular season game of the year. Who do you got?
This is, again, like, this feels like normally a game in which I would have nerves, right? Like, because it's the last game of the season. Washington, bad things have happened here before. And with this kind of situation, I just kind of feel like this team's a little different. I don't know. I mean, I know that we said that last time I said that was when I thought they were going to beat Miami, but I also think that they came out and showed you something against Miami that they didn't show you the week before. And I do think that this is a very good team, and they have it all in front of them. And there's, much like Miami and Buffalo, there's just too strong a disparity between the motivations, right? Like and frankly, the Washington team basically has negative motivation to win.
Yeah.
Obviously, the coaching staff doesn't feel that way. I mean, I think we may be watching, depending on the outcome. Frankly, not depending on the outcome, we may be watching the last of that Washington coaching staff's last game. But I'm picking the Cowboys. I mean, I just think that there's too much working in their favor. There's too much talent disparity there. Part of me has like an inkling of a concern just because of all the things I mentioned before. But to be honest, like, there's too much going for the Cowboys here. They have it all in front of them. And there's so much more on the line with this game than the previous 4 games that they played, really.
Not only that, I know a lot of people are comparing this to the game they played last year in Washington that Dallas lost.
It's different though. Because
last year Dallas needed to win, and I think the Eagles needed to lose. So it's kind of the reverse situation. And you saw that the Cowboys played like, we don't want to show anything. We don't want to get hurt. Let's play a very vanilla game plan. It's just different. It's totally different.
Which, I mean, honestly, I feel like that's what's going to happen to Philly this week, right?
Yeah, like, that won't be surprising.
They're going to be sitting their starters, and they're playing on the road in New York. Like,
it's easy to do. Like, when you know you need help, and it's pretty unlikely that you're going to get it, it's easy to kind of just be like, okay, let's just get through this game and worry about our road playoff game.
Yeah, and that's the difference here, right? Is the Cowboys need this win. If they get it, they get what they've been working for a long time, So I'm picking the Cowboys. I kind of think it's going to be a hats and t-shirts fourth quarter. So I don't even know what the line is off the top of my head, but
13.5 on FanDuel.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to pick the Cowboys to win. Let's say 35-24.
Okay. I get the feeling that this is going to be a weird paced first half where it's like 13-7 going into halftime, and maybe Dallas is even down. But I do think by the time we get to the third and fourth quarter, and it's like, as players realize, like, hey, we've got to win this game, or hey, if we can just score the touchdown to put this game away, you'll really see the sense of urgency pick up for the Cowboys. I think the energy level for Washington is going to be really good to start the game, and then wane as we get closer to the end. So I'm picking the Cowboys. I'm going to go 23-17.
That's a good score. I think both of us predicting NFC East champions, and I can't believe we're, look, can we just take a second to say this is our last prediction of the regular season of 2023? That's crazy that the season has gone by as quickly as it has. So,
and I just saw the odds from like 3 weeks ago where like the Eagles were like 90% are likely to win the NFC East, and the Cowboys were at 10%. Pretty crazy how fast things have changed in the NFC East. Plus, we should have known this. Like, we just never have a repeat NFC East champion. We should have known.
I mean, honestly, I said that in that podcast that we were referring to, the NFC East preview, is that I don't know how you could predict a back-to-back winner, even though I'm sure I will predict a back-to-back winner if the Cowboys win this time next year. So yeah, it's a tough thing to do, and yeah, it's a lot of retribution and a lot of feel good. And I just wanted, last thing before we go is I think it's important that we as Cowboys fans and as NFL fans just remember this. Remember that, like, even when it feels hopeless at times, like, if you just keep your head up and keep winning and just keep believing, sometimes this stuff turns around. The ball bounces weird and things happen. So glad it bounced our way this time.
The Eagles were 10-1 to start the season. They had literally every single bounce go their way.
That's right.
That ball bounces in funny ways, right? So 4 games later, all of a sudden it doesn't bounce their way and they're losing all these close games. The NFL is one strange lady. That is it for today's show. We want to thank you for making Locked On Cowboys your first listen every single day. Go check out our channel on YouTube. We post videos every single day over there. Go check out the podcast. Wherever you get your podcasts, we are free and available on all platforms. Follow Landon on Twitter at McCoolBCB. I'm at Marcus_Mosier. Enjoy the game on Sunday, and we will see you right back here on Monday to break it all down.